All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to yet another episode of Reactionary Opinions, the most based and reactionary show on the African continent. The three based bros are here this evening. This evening's episode, we don't have a guest because we've been storing up all of our rants since Sunday's nonsense, and we've decided to save it for Friday, which is what we're going to be doing tonight. We're just basically going to be ranting about the lockdown and all that nonsense. Mr. Patriarch, how are you doing there, my man?
Doing good. Just put Nikki down. I recently made a video on the undeserving poor, which hopefully offended a lot of people. And I'm just putting the finishing touches to another video today called "Human Rights Don't Exist." So if you want to check out this kind of stuff, go over to my YouTube channel, Mr. Patriarch. Check it out. Like, share, subscribe, all that jazz.
Yeah, definitely go and check out D-Dog's channel over there, Mr. Patriarch. It's really a lot of supremely triggering stuff that you will see on his channel. But triggering in a good way, triggering in a way that makes you think, like his undeserved poor video, which is...
Yeah, it's not triggering for the sake of being triggering, but reality is triggering these days. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah, reality triggers the snowflakes. Feelings don't care about your facts or whatever. Facts don't care about your feelings. Whatever, man. Mr. Russell, Sir Russell the Based, how are you doing there, my man?
Yeah, I'm doing good. I'm looking forward to. I've had a week to think about old Cyril and his statements and his utterances on Sunday evening. So I'm ready to chat a bit about that. But I must say, what I'm really looking forward to from Mr. Patriarch, he's released his first episode on his magnum opus on fascism, which I'm really looking forward to. So, Mr. Patriarch, when's the next episode coming out there? We're really looking forward to it.
I can't wait.
So the plan with that, I was going to start working on my next episode, but my Kindle ebook, where I'm sort of using for my source documents, was dead. So I'm like, all right. So then I just started working on another show. So my plan tentatively is to release one normal video per week and then one in the fascism series until the fascism series is over. So hopefully I'll be releasing my next one next week on fascism. And that's going to be looking at mostly sort of the rise of fascism, and then I'll be going into other elements as time goes on.
That's fantastic.
Brilliant.
Just another side note, folks. Check what came in the post today.
Okay.
A demon book.
Yeah, man.
That's an interesting book. I think I've actually got that book in my library.
It says The View of Our World from the Dark Depths of Hell. So those of you that haven't read Screwtape Letters, it's absolutely a phenomenal book. You should definitely read it. But what I'm looking forward to is reading this book. But what I'm going to be working on now as well is a video about Solve et Coagula. Which is essentially the alchemist idea of dissolving base metals and making them or changing them into gold. And there's a philosophical aspect to that in the Philosopher's Stone and all of those things that the alchemists hold dear. And I think this book also would probably be an interesting insight into that. So I'm going to enjoy reading that. But essentially what the Solve et Coagula story is you can actually notice quite a few interesting Solve et Coagula trends in the world today. I'd say cultural Marxism, for example, is a version of Solve et Coagula because it seeks to destroy everything that is good or everything that is potentially normal and flip it on its head and change it into something else, something different. And I'm going to be talking a lot about that. I'm going to be making a video about that. That'll be out in the next couple of weeks. Sorry, guys, work has got very, very hectic. Some of you that don't know, I mean, myself and Dylan and Russell aren't just like three oaks that sit on our ass and do nothing all day and just like, hey, guys, let's start a YouTube channel. We all have very, very, stressful jobs and all of that. And myself and Dylan have kids and stuff. And it's, it's difficult, but we're here, dedicated as always on a Friday evening at 8 o'clock doing the show. So are we going to just sort of jump into this, guys? Our leader, our great president, our thank you, Mr. President, our we are led, Mr. Cyril Ramaphosa, gets up on stage on Sunday. No real warning or anything. I guess there might have been some sort of warning. They might have hinted at it, but he basically says, "Okay, right, Oaks, no booze, still no cigarettes, obviously," and then he says, "Curfew." Again, a curfew. I mean, for God's sakes, and his logic or what he blames for it is what's it? Party goers and violent drunks. It's just I don't know.
People attending family gatherings and funerals and that sort of thing.
Yeah, because how dare you go and pay your respects to the dead? I mean, that's just how dare you? How dare you be respectful to your family and go and visit your grandmother and all of that? But here's the thing. You can drive a taxi. You can go in a taxi that's at 100% capacity in your hometown. Or you can go to a casino. Those are open. I don't know. It's the strangest thing ever. A lot of the times you sit back and you think to yourself, shit, do these guys actually know what they're doing? And, I think if you don't know the answer to that already, then you either living under a rock or you're a Marxist. And the answer is no, they don't know what they're doing. They really don't. They really are dumb. Like they just really have no idea.
Well, it is possible to be both dumb and evil at the same time. But look, I mean, the thing is, I live in a country, look, in my profession, all right, the amount of regulation and legislation, what frustrates me about South Africa is that if you look at our regulatory and legislative environment, all right, we've got the most dynamic blimmin' laws. Our tax system, collection and laws and administration and collection of it is top class. I mean, if you can practice tax in South Africa, you can do it anywhere, all right? But you're sitting in a country where it is a situation where the government can't deliver basics. They can make great laws and write stuff down on paper and talk in the talking house in Parliament, all right? But they can't actually do anything, all right? And that's what's so frustrating. They talk big. The only thing that they can do is write down laws on pieces of paper. They can't actually bring anything to fruition. They say, oh, we've got a problem, we'll write a law, we've got a problem, we'll make a law. That's how they do everything, And you take these regulations, back to these regulations. I mean, okay, fine. We had the curfew initially for those first 3 or 4 weeks or whatever it was to get the health system ready for so that it doesn't get overrun and all that sort of thing. But the reality is that the government departments, these health departments in most parts of the country, have done absolutely nothing, okay, to do this preparation. They've had 2 months to do it. They've done nothing. And now it's, hey, man in the street, this is your fault, not ours, It's your fault. I found that incredibly belittling, incredibly insulting. I mean, the arrogance of that man to talk down to people like that, when people have sacrificed everything and then do that, that is a real, and then he still refers to the people of South Africa as our people. I mean, those sort of statements really absolutely make me angry. We're not your people, all right? The South African people are not you are our servants. We are not your people. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's the whole I'm the headmaster, you kids will sit down and shut up kind of thing. That's
correct.
the whole,
you know, and it's you know, it's to get up there and actually say those things as clearly and actually say it as like meaning it where you think you're doing something good, you know, no, I'm actually being good in a self-righteous manner like that, to speak down to people like that. You really got to, it's next level sociopathic behavior here, that, you know, that's next level that. You know, it is highly people like that have got really no empathy for anybody else. These guys are a wicked bunch. It is absolutely remarkably. I didn't think they could actually be. They keep surprising me how they show they are so wicked. It's pretty scary, guys. I don't know what else to say. I don't know what you guys have to add.
Dylan, you want to say something there? Bro?
Well, I was just thinking, well, yeah, I agree with Russell there. And speaking of squandered opportunities, I just keep thinking about this deal with Eskom, right? So they had the economy, we got load shedding back, as everyone in South Africa knows. And yeah, they had, when did they shut the country down? March? So, oh, Russell, you're muted, bud.
Yes, you're muted.
27th of March was the first day.
27th of March. So they had it shut down from March to April, April to May, May to June, June to first part of July. So we've had about 3.5 months where most of the economy shut down, which would have been an excellent opportunity for Eskom to take systems off the grid and repair them and whatnot. And apparently they didn't do that because now load shedding's back.
Their excuse was something along the lines, well, we couldn't, the whole world shut down, so we couldn't get the parts in.
Yeah,
right.
so here's the thing. Yeah, here's the thing. We all know that was never their intention. I mean, come on. It's not. We can sit here and say, well, they should have done this. They should have jacked up their health system. They should have fixed the Eskom, and they should have done this, and they should have done that. That's never these guys. That's not what they want to do. That's never their intention. The idea of helping or having the citizens' best interests, I'm not going to say at heart because they're heartless, but having the citizens' best interest in mind or whatever is never something that is part of the ANC's agenda. Okay, their idea is to get control, maintain control, and plunder as much of the wealth of this country as possible. That is the ultimate goal of all of this. Okay, there is the last 26 years from day one. Actually, before that, when the ANC was founded, they basically knew they were eventually going to get power. That was their goal. That has always been their intention, was to steal, plunder, loot, and get rich by stealing money from our people. That's the ultimate goal.
Yeah, no, look, you know, the reason why they didn't do anything within the healthcare sector to improve it, all right, is probably because they couldn't decide fast enough who was going to do all the tenders and make all the money, corrupt dealings. They couldn't decide that fast enough to do, you know, they didn't have anything. They couldn't make a decision because they couldn't decide who was going to make the money from it.
Exactly. And St. Cyril was the guy that was chosen eventually anyway. So he was the guy. So contrary to what a lot of people don't know is, you know, everyone's like, oh, but Cyril's such an amazing entrepreneur, says the Constantia wife. Bullshit. Okay, he's not. Okay, he was useless. He's never built anything in his life. Never. Okay, he was a cadre that was at the right place at the right political position. That's it. End of story. That's all he did. He got given a whole bunch of tenders and all kinds of stuff, got involved in the unions and all of that. And that's how Cyril is now worth billions. Okay. And where does that money come from? Us, our people. Okay. That's where it comes from. So, sorry, before we move on to the next thing, hello, Wizard, the Wizard. And he said, only me hit the like. Yes, everyone that's watching, hit the like button, guys. You know what the like button does? It allows people to see our video, and it tells people that this is a good video. So hit the like button to everyone that's watching. So, but you know what I mean, Russ and Dylan. This is the whole point: is that the ANC just wanted to steal, rape, not rape, but steal, plunder, loot, and get rich and take as much money as they can. The idea of like, oh well, guys, we need to do a tax revolt. Yes, that's all good. Yes, tax revolt is all good. But realistically speaking, these oaks are worth billions. They don't care. They've got billions. You think like our measly little tax revolt, me not paying my 20,000 rand tax, whatever, how much tax I pay and stuff. Do you think that means anything to these oaks? It means nothing. Come on. They're laughing at you. You like tax revolt. Okay, oaks, let's get 1,000 oaks and we're gonna tax revolt against the ANC. This is the ANC right now. That's the ANC. Don't
worry, Scott. They don't care if the tax revenues go down. They'll just print the money, man. It's okay. Helicopter money. Exactly. I remember. I'll tell you a story. When one of my first posts a while back on this issue about us being, I can't remember what it was, and our mutual friend, old Liacho, his comment on Facebook says, "Don't worry, McLaren. We're all going to live on we're all going to live on cash grants every month from now on."
Yeah. Well, I mean, I see oaks, like a lot of oaks talking on Facebook and stuff, like saying, oh, "I'm not going to pay my tax anymore." Like, I'm like, okay, and so is the ANC. Do you think the ANC gives a crap if even, let's say, for example, let's just say, for example, let's say 70% of all corporates in South Africa stop paying taxes tomorrow. You think the ANC is going to care? You think the ANC is going to say, "Uh-oh, guys, we got no more money"? You think they're going to do that? Hell no.
Well, they're definitely not going to give up power just because of that. Put it that way.
Well, no, it's not about giving up power either, Russell. They've got the power. We know that they've got the power. So the point is not really about giving up power. The point is they don't care. They've got enough money. They're worth billions, okay? And guess what? Like you say, if they don't have more money, they'll find other ways to steal more money. Interestingly enough, now that we're on the tax revenue point over here,
they'll just EWP everything.
Yeah, all this money that the government, that South African government is getting paid by, that's getting sponsored by the US. I read an article briefly, or saw an article the other day saying that the US is now thinking about giving more money to South Africa. And why are the American taxpayers, Dylan, D-Dog, why are you oaks not outraged because your tax money is now getting stolen by the ANC? Look how good these oaks are at stealing tax money. They're not good. Do you think the ANC stops at stealing South African tax money? Come on. The ANC wants to steal the whole world's tax money. They get all their sponsors because they're riding on this revolutionary wave, because the whole world thinks the ANC is the most amazing thing that's ever existed. So they're getting oaks, like they're just dancing fools, and oaks are throwing tips at them, and the ANC is loving it. They don't care, man. They really don't care. Come on.
Yeah, no, I think I think I would say with the tax thing is, I half agree. So the people you're talking about, Scott, like the real connected ones at the top. Yeah, come hell or high water, they're going to be fine, right? They got their money here. They got their money stored in Swiss banks somewhere. You know, they got their foreign investments and whatnot. They're shielded no matter what happens. If money does really start to dry up, though, what that is going to do, I think, hopefully, is there's too many people getting their back scratched down the line who are at a lower level. So if for whatever reason all the the bloated workforce at ESCOM for whatever reason can't make payroll, that is going to be a problem for them. And then then we'll see sort of what happens. But the guys at the top, yeah, they'll be fine. This phenomenon that you see of liberation movements throwing off the yoke of colonialism or whatever, and then getting into power and then turning the entire state into a giant ATM machine is not unique to South Africa. This pretty much happens basically every time it's done. So it happened in the Philippines. It happened in other African countries. And South Africa is no different. South Africa is not special in this regard. So when you do get these political agitators, and I say that because the ANC, they kind of were. I mean, yeah, they were part of the liberation movement, but the IFP had a lot more support than the ANC ever did prior to 1994, but they weren't really, part of the picture or the negotiations. So once they do get the levers of power, it's an excellent opportunity by which they can enrich themselves and their friends and their family, which they do. And then they start handing out, and then the patronage goes down the line. So, and that's how you wreck a country. you basically totally gut its civil service and the bureaucracy to the point where it's impossible to do anything unless you bribe somebody or you're willing to wait, months at a time to get anything done. So, yeah, I mean, that's basically the problem. We're reaping the bitter harvest of the seeds that were sown long ago.
Yeah. So Dylan, just a little bit of insight over there. I watched a very interesting video of that Vusi Tembakwayo guy. He's actually quite a sharp guy, a very interesting guy. And with regards to your whole the idea of the people at the top, the guys at the top are going to sort of they're going to be fine, and the other guys below them are going to be the ones that are going to start struggling and all of that. Here's the thing, okay? In African politics, okay, it doesn't work that way. It doesn't work the way that the guys at the bottom will sort of change the way things are done, okay? The way that it works in African politics is the oaks at the bottom will do everything they can to get to the top, okay? If it means removing the oak at the top so that they can get all the wealth and they can get whatever's on the top, then so be it, okay? That's how this works. The idea of having structural power here today in one position, and then tomorrow after election, for example, a different party in power is absolutely foreign in African politics. Absolutely foreign. Doesn't exist. Okay. The idea of having those two things, those two separate structures, is completely foreign in what I've seen in African politics. Okay. It is changing though. I mean, you've got guys like Vusi Tembakwayo that are talking up against that because they've realized, hang on, this is all you're doing now is you're basically taking the oak at the top, destroying him, getting rid of him, and putting another oak in the place, instead of, dividing.
So he can give money to his friends.
Yeah, exactly. Instead of actually creating wealth in the lower rungs, you know what I mean? What you do is the wealth is all at the top over here, okay? And everyone is fighting to get that position on the top, okay? That's the idea in African politics, okay? And this is what Vusi Tembakwayo says and explains, and I think he's bang on. I think he's 100% correct. So yeah, that's just my idea with regards to that logic, and this is exactly how the ANC works. It's exactly how the ANC works. And the idea that the ANC is going to be here today, gone tomorrow at an election and stuff is, come on. We're not gonna be able to democracy our way out of this situation, guys.
Now look, the ANC view themselves as like the gods.
They are absolutely infallible in their minds.
Yeah, they are the gods. They are gods of South African politics, and no god can ever be deposed. You know what I mean? So, like I say, there's even that. I think there's a quote of many traditional leaders. I'll actually get the book. There's a quote that I've got in a book where there's a traditional leader where they're busy having discussions in Rhodesia in the 1960s, where one of the traditional leaders says to the press that's there and that sort of thing, says the idea that power can be in one group's hand and then another is inconceivable to the African mind.
Yeah, democracy is a foreign idea to them. It's an absolutely foreign idea. It's the same as our sort of Anglo-Germanic ancestors, I don't know, about 1100 years ago or whatever it is. It was also foreign to them, the idea of having a structural power base over a vast area and stuff. It was just tribal, and that's what it was, and this is just the way it is,
Yeah, you see, the thing is, anyway, this is the big problem with democracy. It's now democracy has basically become not just in South Africa, but to varying degrees around the world, democracy is like an excuse for tyranny these days.
Yeah, well, it's a Trojan horse for socialism. We actually made a video over a year ago about this.
Yeah, we spoke about this. I remember that. Yeah, I do remember that.
Being a Trojan horse. I want to get into the comments over here, guys. There's some interesting comments being made by guys over here. There's an interesting comment over here made by Mrs. Maiden Name. Hello, Mrs. Maiden Name. Welcome back. Good to see you. So 1.5 billion, I assume that's the amount that the US is giving to the South Africa. Seems like a small amount. But anyway, it says, do you have any info on whether they are running the COVID vax tests on people in RSA? I did read that apparently South Africa will be one of the first testing countries. Obviously, I mean, hello.
Please explain to me why a vaccine is so important for a virus that's got a 99.8% survival rate.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know. It's the most strange thing ever. So I personally think, to answer your question there, Mrs. Maiden Name, I personally think that everything globalist or New World Order-ish gets tested in South Africa first. I mean, Mr. New World Order himself, old Jan Smuts, made sure that South Africa was the testing ground for all of these sort of things. And that's just my little tinfoil hat conspiracy theory stuff coming out. But yeah,
it's not a theory, it's a conspiracy fact.
Yeah, it's a conspiracy fact. But that's my idea as why. So it's everything New World Order, everything globalist gets tested in South Africa first. That's my idea. Dylan, you have anything to add over there? Add some conspiracy. Give us an Alex Jones impersonation there, man. Come on.
Oh man, I don't know.
Come on.
But I'll send off with an Alex Jones one. How about that? I feel like that one we did with Bill Craig. I'll need time to think about it. But yeah, I mean, conspiracies. I remember we did a show on this a while ago, but there's conspiracy theories and then there's conspiracies, and both things happen, right? So, yeah, as far as South Africa being the test ground for any, new shenanigans, I don't know. I can't speak to that, but I guess I wouldn't be surprised at this point. Interesting to me, sort of. I'm just wondering, like, what the pulse is of the people on this as a general rule. Like, have you guys read any public opinion polling on this? Because in our circles, a lot of this lockdown stuff is like, yeah, this is tyranny and whatnot. And I haven't, gone around asking people in the townships what they think, but the times that I've driven through there recently or by there, they seem to be carrying on business as usual. So there seems to be a divide. Like, you got people like libertarians and like crazy right wingers like us. We're like, this is ridiculous. And then you got, the poor people who are like, all right, I just need to make a living somehow. So I'm just going to continue on, because if I don't, then I'm hungry, essentially. And then you got the middle who is like, oh, yeah, we need to really obey this lockdown. And yeah, so it was right for scouting you out. So sort of crowd. And this sort of reminds me of, I think it was Benjamin Disraeli. I think it was. He was one of an old prime minister of the UK, but he had this notion of what he called the rotten middle, as he called it. So he said you have like the noble aristocratic class, and then you have like the yeoman farmers, like Mr. Everyman, and then the rotten middle was like the the bourgeois social ladder climbers and whatnot, and the aspiring people. And they were sort of the problem in his mind. And the idea was to unite the top and the bottom against like this middle section and try to crush them into submission with their bad ideas. And it's funny, if you think about a lot of the bad ideas that come out of history, socialism, communism, Marxism, so on and so forth, they usually do arise from this educated middle class section of society. It's not really the top people, because they're mostly concerned about power and control and so on and so forth, making money and being elites and whatnot. And Mr. Everyman, he couldn't be bothered. He's concerned about his village, his plot of land, his farm, his crops, his whatever, his small business. But it's these people in the middle that sort of end up causing a lot of the trouble. And you see the same thing sort of play out in the United States with a lot of these BLM protesters and whatnot, where the actual protesters, not the looters, not the rioters, but they do participate in a lot of them, but the force behind the BLM protest, they seem to be, again, this segment of the educated middle class faction who just read too many books, and now they're just want to tip the apple cart over. So I'm just wondering, in South Africa, sort of what's the feeling of the average man on the street here? Because I think there's probably that divide going on as well. So you have rich people who are concerned about their businesses drying up and having their fortunes smashed. And then you have the poor people who are like, they want things to get back to normal because it's hard enough, even in the best of times in South Africa, for them to get by. But the ones who are gung-ho for the lockdown are like the comfortable middle class types. I don't know. It's just a thought I've been thinking.
Yeah. Carry on, Russell. Go ahead.
I think they released sometime during the lockdown. I think there was actually a poll released, which was pretty outrageous in its support. I wouldn't trust a lot of these polls that get published when it comes to a controversial subject like this lockdown. The media and the way they've reported on this lockdown has been entirely and utterly supportive of the government. I don't think they could have found a more willing accomplice than the media.
Yeah.
So,
carry on.
Look, that's why it's so difficult. I understand what the general feel is. That's why it's so difficult to get an idea of what the opinions are, really. But I think we're going to start getting the opinions quite quickly, because we've already heard the tavern owners saying, well, look, Mr. President, we're giving you 1 week. If you don't agree to our terms, we're just going to carry on as normal. They've literally told the president that. You've had the taxi owners say, listen, we're carrying on as normal as well. Thank you very much, Mr. President. So I think the gauge is more towards that the government has been ridiculous, because things like tavern owners and taxi owners are very much grassroots. And I think we can look into that. And my belief is that at the grassroots, there is disdain for these policies.
Yeah. So if it's a choice between running the risk of the government taking your liquor license or not having liquor to sell, period, it's a pretty easy choice for some of these people to make, Yeah,
exactly. Before I get on to my point, I just want to make a good comment over here. So BLM, apparently, thanks the wizard, it stands for Black Label Matters. Yeah. Samalek. So Dylan, I think the phrase that comes to mind talking about your sort of middle class South African, free rider. The phrase that comes to mind is, it takes pressure to make a diamond. Okay. And the reality of it is, I don't know if I've spoken about this on the show before, but myself and Russell come from, what would be considered by anyone in modern times and stuff would be considered extremely humble beginnings, and and it was because of that pressure that kind of forced us to become such great critical thinkers, and and I think that is severely lacking in the world today. I think that people are not put under enough pressure. They are. It's easy to be a free rider in the world that we live in today, and by free rider I mean, it's easy to just sort of glide through life, without having to ask yourself the difficult questions. And I think that there is a big percentage of South Africans. I've spoken to many, I've dealt with many South Africans who are absolutely petrified of this virus. They think it's the most terrifying thing ever. So, I mean, for example, if you get flu, Russell or Dylan, if you guys get flu, or anyone in the comments section, you're not going to say to someone, "Oh, I'm praying for you. I'm praying that you will survive this great terrible thing called influenza." It's the worst thing. We'll all come together and now pray for you. That you don't do that. You're like, okay, get some sleep, have a couple of med lemons, see you on the other side, kind of thing. But with this sort of thing, it's like stay safe, stay home, or you're going to die, kind of thing. And there's a lot of people. If you want to talk about the popular consensus or the general consensus in South Africa, there's a lot of people that are absolutely petrified of this thing, and they really do believe that it is as dangerous as the mainstream media says it is. A lot of them are, and not because they're stupid or anything, not because they are don't have the intellectual capacity to know these things and understand them, just because they have been taught and conditioned to accept what the government says as gospel. And this is what's happened. This is what, people have been so conditioned into thinking that the government, whatever the government says, is fine. Just wait until the government says it's okay to go out, then you can go out. And that's basically what's happened.
It's basically that story of obeying a scientist because he wears a lab coat, that type of thing.
Yeah, how many times have you been in a discussion with someone and they shout, "It's effing science, guys"? How many times? Come on, I've been in tons of them. You guys have probably.
Yeah, well, look, but I'm just saying. The thing is, a lot of the with this whole COVID thing, I got into some quite heated debates with people who were being alarmist on social media, and I took them on, and I said, look, and I sent them all my data and my analysis and everything like that, and I said they haven't put an update on COVID anywhere in the last 2 weeks. You know what I mean? They've completely changed simply because they've stopped drinking the wrong Kool-Aid. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. So I just want to get to a comment over here by Sideline Opinions. I was at Sideline Opinions. Welcome back again. Sorry, guys. I just want to get to this comment over here. It says the ANC/SACP, of course, because we know the South African Communist Party is the ones pulling the strings, are using COVID 1984. I like that, to destroy the middle class. And this is, Sideline Opinions. I see you on a lot of shows and stuff, and you often come and hang out with us. You win the prize. The prize is the rest of my wine, which is now worth like 600 Rand. You're bang on. 100% correct. This is what they want to do. They want to destroy the middle class.
Didn't Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma say something basically to that effect a while ago about like class suicide or something? She was saying with this lockdown.
Yeah, basically, it's exactly that, because the point is every business that they can destroy is either a cheap business for the government to buy up, or another family that's without food or without an income that can now become a lemming to the state, because government has money, they can provide for the people and stuff. But that's essentially the crux of this. In case you guys haven't seen this, I just released a video about 2 hours or so before this live stream, explaining all of this as well. Very, very important. But before Russell, I want to get into the statistics, the numbers. But before we get into that, I want to talk about the curfew. This is now, the booze and stuff I can handle. I have enough booze to last me quite a while. I don't smoke, so the cigarettes don't bother me. But it's the curfew that really gets me, because the point is they don't want people. Don't you dare go and spend time with friends and family, because if you spend time with friends and family, then you become sane, you are focused, and you are positive, you have high spirits. If you have high spirits, what do? You pull your socks up, you start new businesses, and you carry on. Government doesn't want that. They want you to be a slave to them. This is also another important part that a lot of people don't understand about the thing is they want to destroy the family. If they can destroy the family, they defeat people's spirits. And when people have defeated their spirits, or when people have had their spirits defeated, they become dead inside, and they essentially become lemmings to the state.
Destroy everything good and decent. Everything good and decent. Everything. No, nothing decent must remain. Nothing.
And you know what? The people will say, like, okay, well, if you go and visit family and friends and stuff, you can be spreading the virus. Okay, well, you can get in a taxi that's 100% capacity.
You can get it at the Pick and Pay as well.
Yeah, you can go to Pick and Pay. You can go to a casino. You can pretty much go wherever you want. But don't go and visit your family. Don't you dare. Don't you dare go and visit your parents. Don't you dare go and visit your grandmother who's sick in an old age home. Don't you dare do that.
Yeah, I was just going to read something while we were talking about this. Who brought this up? Was it Sideliner Opinions with the comment about the middle class sabotage? But this came out a while ago and it was big news at the time. But it says, this is from Dlamini Zuma. She said, however, COVID-19 also offers us an opportunity. opportunity to accelerate the implementation of some long agreed upon structural changes to enable reconstruction, development, and growth. These opportunities call for more sacrifices and, if needs be, what Amilcar Cabral called class suicide, wherein we must rally behind the common cause. Coronavirus knows no class, race, gender, or geographic location. And what what Cabral's doctrine meant was the class suicide of the bourgeoisie. So in Dlamini Zuma's mind, this is an opportunity for the middle class and for the business owners of South Africa to basically be destroyed for the purposes of national democratic revolution. So yeah, it's pretty blatant stuff.
Right in front of our faces, eh?
Look, like I say, the only thing is, the problem is, generally speaking, we don't. I find it so shocking that people just cannot get their heads around what we are talking about. People cannot understand that you've got a bunch of complete and utter sociopaths running the way Cyril addressed the nation was in sociopathic, complete lack of empathy fashion. How people cannot see this, it's probably my bigger gripe than anything that the government has actually done.
Russell, talking about that, I just saw an interesting comment over here by Dagbreker talking about struggle session, where he says, good evening, gents. How's it, Dagbreker? Welcome back. He says, look up a term called struggle session. It's literally Maoist technique to break your spirits. So in all honesty, I had never heard of the term struggle session. I don't know if you guys had. But
yeah, I haven't heard of it, but it's a very similar technique, war technique, to what there was a Clausewitz, a famous a Prussian military strategist, Clausewitz, or I can't remember his name. He said, war is an act of violence to break an opposition's will. It is not the loss of horses and men, but the loss of will that is something like, I'm paraphrasing, but generally speaking, it's not how many guns and everything you lose. It's when you break the spirit. That's what matters.
So what it says over here is that the struggle session was a form of public humiliation and torture that was used by the Communist Party of China. Excuse me, let me just evacuate this corona. At various times in the Mao era, particularly years immediately before and after the establishment of the PPC, and during the the People's Republic of China, and during a cultural revolution. So it essentially was sort of a public shaming. So exactly the same way that Cyril, it's literally the same technique that Cyril used against us.
Yeah. So basically, I was just gonna basically say the same thing. So yeah, the struggle sessions were like what Scott said, in the Maoist era during the Cultural Revolution, they would take supposed enemies of the revolution, who would usually be teachers, people who were educated before Mao came to power, had old traditional ideas. That might be priests or somebody, or an erstwhile landowner, and they would, basically publicly humiliate him. They'd like put a dunce cap on the guy and shout insults at him. And the Red Guard was principally responsible for enacting a lot of this, who was sort of Mao's paramilitary communist, street thugs, essentially. A lot of them were students and whatnot. Yeah, this was a very common thing that you saw in the Maoist era of the Chinese history. The North Koreans have something which is even more insidious, where every week, to this day in North Korea, you got to get together in a group and think of something bad that you have done, which is counter-revolutionary somehow. And then you also have to think of something that one of your neighbors did, like the next guy in line. So it's this constant enforced narking on yourself and narking on the next guy. So when it's your turn in line, you better have something to say, because if you don't, then sort of like, oh, you don't have your eyes open enough. So it's really, really perverse phenomenon. It's brilliant, but it's dark.
It's demonic. It's from the pits of hell, man.
Definitely demonic.
Yeah.
Russell, do you want to just do you want to go into those numbers?
Yeah, there's that Western Cape data.
So I just want to let you guys in on this. So Russell, being a bit of a fanatic, has captured daily the numbers of it was specifically the Western Cape, right, Russell?
Just the Western Cape, yeah, just the Western
Cape and like, so your infection rates and all of that for the COVID stuff. And he basically Russell has this idea that I think he's pretty bang on that the COVID virus sort of came and gone. It's come and gone already, and it's over basically 2-3 weeks ago. So anyway, I'm gonna share the screen with you of Russell's COVID data over here. You guys see it?
Yes, we do that? Yes. It was great. I see it there, but you'll notice.
What do you want me to do?
I can't see it. It's obviously a bit small. But
there you go. There we go. That's better.
That's much better. Yeah, you'll notice. Look at those red. Remember, I don't know if you remember the Panda guys, the Panda data analysis. All right. They basically said that the virus would reach its peak. The so-called experts at UCT and the Western Cape government think we're going to reach our peak end of July, beginning of August. All right. But looking at this data, those red marks there, that red mark is on the 6th of July. That is the active cases, the 17,000. And that other red mark there is the hospitalizations. Those are the peak numbers in hospital and peak numbers of active cases that there have been. And it's bang on target, first week of July, bang on target.
So is this what Panda said was going to happen?
That's what Panda said was going to happen. And it's been bang on target.
Wow, that's interesting. Okay,
so hospital numbers have been.
So hospital numbers have gradually been decreasing. You can see.
Correct. Look at that. It's all gone down, and the active cases all declined.
So this is today's. Okay, the 17th hasn't been. You haven't put in details for the 17th, though.
Yeah. But it's come down. It's now. I've checked it now. I've got the latest one here. I'll tell you now, it's actually come down even more. We're now down to 13,750 active cases and 1,596 hospitalizations.
Oh, wow. Okay, so that basically says
you'll never see this. Imagine them publishing this on a media site like the E-News or something like that. Will never publish those figures and say, "Hey guys, look at this. Look at these numbers." And if you look at all those. The yellow marked ones under the active cases, those are the days where the active cases declined.
So they have about 1,600. What's the current total hospitalization again, Russell? What did you say? Right now,
1,596.
All right. Yeah. So it's gone down. So you have 1,596. So you have about 1,600 people nationwide.
No, that's not 55. This is is this nationwide or in South Africa?
No, just the Western Cape. Okay. Just the
Western Cape. Okay. So you have about 1,600 people within the province who are currently hospitalized for this, which is down from its peak, and it looks like it's down. So when was this lockdown? That was last. That went into effect on last Monday, right? So that would be the 6th, correct?
Which lockdown are you talking about?
They announced. I mean, the latest round, like no booze and no.
That would have been Monday's date, which was what, the 12th or something.
The 6th. That was last, or was it this week?
This week. It was this week. Yeah.
Okay. I'm sorry, I got my brain off. So that's the 13th. So what was the I want to see what the trend. What I'm curious about is sort of the trend. So before that, there's some graphs. There's some graphs further down. It's a little bit. I must apologize. It's a bit untidy. But if Scott scrolls down, you'll see the graphs. It's a little bit untidy. Might have to zoom out a little bit again. Oh, there we go. Okay.
There's the one with the daily deaths and the active cases. They are there. It's just a little bit. I must apologize. I use them for my references only, so they don't have to be. There's the deaths there, and you can see the squiggly line is the daily sort of rates, and the other line, the trend line, is the 7-day moving average.
Okay.
So you can see there's definitely a trend over here. It's kind of
downwards.
A gradual decline, slow. So yeah, the peak was about.
If you look at the infection rate, scroll up to the top, and there's a graph towards the top of the scroll to the right, and then further go up. Go there. Go but down. There's active cases. And if you just scroll down a bit, there's your daily new infections. I don't know. I think
So there you can see there's
if you look at that, there. And if you look at the 7-day moving average, it peaked exactly on 90 days, which is in line with everybody else in the world.
Yeah, look at that.
Yeah, basically on 90 days. And I mean, the thing is, everybody is saying, just wait another 2 weeks.
Well, that's what Irene Pretorius just said over here. She said, second wave coming. Has there been a
second wave? There is no second wave.
Well, I know in the United States there's been a spike in cases, but the interesting thing about that is the death rates continue to go down. So that either means one of three things. It either means they're just doing more testing now, and they're discovering more people have it, or it means that the people who have the disease are non-symptomatic, and they're just discovering about it. They're like, oh, you have coronavirus? I didn't know. I felt fine, sort of thing. Or the virus is mutated into something that is less lethal in that specific area in the United States, which is also a possibility. But either way, the increase in cases is not corresponding to a higher death rate in the United States. That has been going down for a while. And even though there's a spike in cases, apparently, people aren't dying from it.
It could also just be that people show symptoms, but they've actually got the immune system and maybe some antibodies to defend it now. I don't know. So
yeah, but I don't know. But for whatever reason, they're not dropping because of it, which is the interesting part. Even though
I want to go back to this these hospitalization cases and just clarify that these are not because if someone says they're hospitalized, it kind of sounds like it's like these are oaks on ventilators and ICU and that.
No, that's not ICU. That's everybody. ICU. I must add, ICU numbers have never gone up more than 350, and the experts were saying that we needed 3,000, 4,000 ICU beds.
Well, the Western Cape, I think the Western Cape government just released that they have, I think it was 2,700 ICU beds available. ICU beds, specifically, ventilate the whole works and stuff.
Oxygen, the work, and they've never had more than 350.
Yeah, and apparently now the trend is that the Western Cape is very much under control. So it's
in terms of like health management of the patients and stuff.
Yes,
correct.
Yes.
Capacity, etc. They were told. They were told that you're going to need 3,000 beds, ICU beds. They've never used more than 350.
So they totally over-prepared for it, basically.
Yeah. So Irene just made a comment over here. She said, "How perfect is this all being planned? Second wave may include a mandatory vaccine." Okay, so I'm not really expecting a second wave, but if they might sort of make a artificial second wave, possibly, yes. But the mandatory vaccine, guys, that is something that you need to put your foot down on. I mean, you cannot, any vaccine that has been made mandatory on a whim, on a virus that is a 99% survival rate is dodgy as hell. Okay, and you need to resist that as best as you can.
Yeah.
You know, use it as at every aspect that you can. Definitely.
But even with lockdown, even look, like I say, the vaccination. Why would you want to get vaccinated for a survival rate of a virus where it is 99.8%? It doesn't make any sense. This is not polio. This is not serious issues like that. A vaccination for this thing is just simply not worth it. Based on the data, it's just not worth it. I don't know why they're worried about a vaccine even. If it's like they've created this thing, and until we get a vaccine, everybody we're gonna replace the tyranny of this with the tyranny of a vaccine, and then you guys can have some freedom again.
Well,
That's what it sounds like.
I made in my video that I made that I released today, guys. I spoke about tuberculosis. Now, tuberculosis actually, I don't know if it is like that or if COVID has been made like that, but well, not made like not manufactured like that, but made to seem like that. But apparently, TB is not as contagious as COVID. I did a bit of research on it. Apparently, it's not as contagious, but it is far more deadly. I think it has on a broad scale over the years. So I mean, obviously, it had like probably a 20 to 25% mortality rate in the 1800s, but up until about 4 or 5 years ago, it still had a 15% mortality rate, which is severe. That's incredibly dangerous. And although the numbers are not really out there and the numbers are not quite clear, in South Africa, probably anything between 60 to 100,000 people die every year from tuberculosis. Why was there? I mean, there was never ever a lockdown for these things. There was never ever a lockdown for tuberculosis. Never. I mean, even when in the 1800s, maybe even earlier, probably the 1700s, when TB was ravaging Europe and the United States. I mean, it literally ravaged through what did they call it? They called it something the black lung. No, not black lung. Something they called it something else. I remember it from that movie Wyatt Earp when Doc Holliday got tuberculosis, and like it ravaged its way through the United States as well as Europe. There was never even a thought of a lockdown. I mean, come on. And now, we've got all these hospitals, and like what hospitals were there in those days? I mean, come on, what did they have to deal with it? But there was no lockdown. Now we've got all these hospitals and this amazing science and everything, but we lock everyone down. I mean, come on.
Interesting thing about lockdowns and social distancing, Scott. I didn't check the latest figures, but as at the beginning of July, every now and again they bring out neighborhood positive cases. Now, Dunoon, right? There are 40,000 people living in maybe a tiny little area. There's probably like 5 people per 10 square meters type of thing, living there. There's no social distancing even possible. You know how many cases out of 40,000 they had at the end of June? 550 odd.
Now
now tell me how effective.
You get your numbers up, man.
You know what I mean. I mean, the thing is, that's and that is official data. All right. Now that basically says to me, look, guys, obviously those are symptomatic cases, but really, guys, I don't think the lockdown can even work. And even if it doesn't work, it doesn't matter, because look at those numbers coming out of a place like Dunoon.
Yeah, so I think the world has got so brave now. I think if you don't believe in some sort of globalist agenda and stuff, then you are incredibly naive and haven't observed the world around you. And these oaks are just demonic and stuff. But if these sort of things don't make any sense to you, and they become so brave and blatant and brazen, I'm sorry, like then you deserve to have all kinds of cuck injected into you and live under international social. Sorry,
Yeah,
you,
you're in such a hurry to get a vaccine. It's got a 99.8% survival rate. I've got to get that vaccine.
yeah, it's like you're like a Cub Scout and you want to get your COVID vaccine sticker kind of thing. I mean, come on.
You want to get your pips.
Yeah, it's dumb.
Badge.
Yeah, D-Dog, you have anything to add there, bro?
I mean, I think you guys nailed it on the head. I was interested to see that data Russell has been so astutely documenting of these cases, and happy to see that it have gone down, and that I was just looking, ICU capacity in the Western Cape is something over 3,000 something. So yeah, I'm not worried anymore about them running out of hospital beds, particularly because it seems like the trend has flatlined and appears to be on the decline. And from what I was able to see, Scott sharing the charts and stuff, it seems to me that the trend was downwards even before this latest clampdown. So,
absolutely.
and yeah, so that's
Guys,
a good thing. And they should let us buy beer again.
Yeah, before we move towards the end of the show, I want to bring up a comment over here made by our old man that yes, this is our father, for those of you that are wondering, Robin McLaren, the guy that taught us how to be such great critical thinkers. He says, and this is something that we haven't discussed, which is something important, is the corporate sector is our enemy. They don't make any waves. Yes, Dad, you are 100% correct. This is the issue. The corporate guys, the taxi oaks, they said they went to the government and said to them, government, there's a big toffee for you, oaks. We are carrying on business as always, And interestingly enough, I've seen a lot of like small business owners and stuff on Facebook ranting about the ANC this and the ANC that, and you can just tell either by their accent or who they are that 2 months ago they were like, thank you, Mr. President, and stuff. Now they're ranting. It's good, because pressure creates a diamond. Great. Let it happen. Let the oaks cuck off. Good. But anyway, the big corporates are the oaks that are the biggest cowards in this whole entire thing. They're the oaks that'll sit in their glass towers and do nothing, because they kind of, well, I guess they're aligned again with the ANC and the SACP. I think Sideliner Opinions made a comment about that as well. Is they basically are the ANC and the SACP's little lapdogs. They just there to bring in tax revenue kind of thing. And the big corporates are the oaks they're the ones that are the oaks that could actually make a difference, but they won't. They'll sit in their glass towers and make sure their money's offshore somewhere, and they're happy. But the worst thing is that they're happy with thousands and thousands of people getting retrenched. Those people that have dedicated decades to their company. Sorry, Russell, there's a bit of an echo. I'm just going to mute you on the thing. Those people that have dedicated decades of their lives to these companies, decades, are now sitting without a job. Because the fat cat, the oak sitting in the glass tower over there, is too scared and too afraid to go to the government, like the taxi oaks, and go to them, you know what? There's a toffee. There's a big toffee. Piss off, oaks. We're going to carry on and do our business. That is unforgivable. Absolutely unforgivable. The food that is being taken off of those families' tables because this oak is too scared to stand up and talk against the government is unforgivable. Rant over.
No, it's good. Look, like basically, yeah, I've got. It's been the most disappointing thing to see, but I'm. Look, you never know. Times can change. Let's hope that there is some a corporate backlash and some sort of thing that starts happening. But yeah, the problem is that people don't understand that the only thing the ANC understands is power. You don't play negotiating. You play power games with the ANC. The Tavern Association and the taxi owners played a power game. No. You don't. You take no prisoners with them. You don't even. And it's quite interesting. I chatted to. I remember listening to someone who was a missionary that was in a communist dictatorship, had been captured. And basically, if you stand up to these guys in your interrogation, even they actually back off. They don't. You actually got a better chance of being left alone and having a decent deal. That's actually how it works.
Absolutely. Russell, I just want to get to a comment in the comments section over here, which is relevant to eschatology and stuff over here. I don't know if you guys can see it, but Irene Pretorius, okay, appreciate your comment, Irene. It's great and everything. And you'll know that our channel is primarily based in Christian values, and we are primarily a Christian channel. It says over here, guys, my humble opinion is this: we are living the end times. But somehow I believe we'll someday look up to the mountains and God with his army will be there for his children. Yeah, look, I'm not a big fan of the idea of this is the end times, let's give up. I'm not really a big fan of that. Russell, you wanted to say something?
Look, I don't want. All I will say is this type of thinking only gained traction the last 150 odd years within the broader Christian circles, in the broader Christian church. Before that, it was all about bringing God's kingdom to earth, and this rapture fever and all that sort of thing was unheard of until about 150 years ago. But I don't want to get into it now. It's a long discussion. So it's a bit outside the scope.
The easy
way,
Russell, the easy way to think of it is, the easy way to look at these things is, let's say the Allies against the Nazis had have just said, well, guys, this is the end times. God will come and save us. And they gave up, but they didn't. They really didn't. What happens if World War I happened? The Battle of the Somme, 1916 Battle of the Somme.
I've generally said,
we give up, guys. This is hell on earth. We give up, guys. This is hell on earth.
I've given a broad response. I'm not going to get into the details now. I think we're running out of time. There's no ways we can cover all that now. But
I guess
I've given my statement as a broad view sort of statement. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's sort of my opinion. I'm my position's more or less always been that the Lord could come tomorrow if he wants, but I am entirely uncomfortable speculating as to when that might or might not be. So, in times maybe, but a lot of Christians were saying that about 1,500 years ago as well. So, and it's been 1,500 years since then. So, when the Roman Empire was collapsing, a lot of people thought it was the end times. A lot of early Christians thought shortly after the death of Jesus and the establishment of the church in Asia Minor that the Lord would be coming again soon. But that didn't happen. And I think speculating as to when that might be, yes, we have all kinds of things now that they didn't have in the past, certain technological things, certain things that are scary, certain globalizing forces at work that were not the case back then. We know it's closer to the end times, but I mean, who's to say when that's going to be? And I think the scripture itself says that, nobody save the Father knows, the angels don't know, and I certainly don't know. So I'm not going to speculate as to when that might happen.
Yeah, something that needs to be revived, I think, is a gospel of victory. Okay, and this was always a gospel before, is the idea that we are victorious with Christ. We have nothing to fear. What do we have to fear? Nothing. Only thing that we have to fear is God Himself. So the idea of giving up and being passive is something that is unchristian and needs to be utterly wiped off of the face of any kind of ministry within any Christian circle. We need to revive the idea of being victorious Christians. Victorious Christians. We have victory in Christ. Like the wizard said, the Lord helps those who help themselves. Correct.
But I mean, it's like also Martin Luther said, he said, if I knew Christ was coming back tomorrow, today I would plant a tree,
Exactly.
Life goes on, we are here to do as the Lord says today, not worry about what He says about tomorrow. But
we
like I
are
say,
to build the kingdom. That is the idea.
That is what you've got to continue building.
I think that people have lost track of the most basic fundamentals of being a Christian, which is essentially live your life to the glory of God. And that is the glory of God is, create life, get married, start a community, speak out, fight against evil forces. That is how you live your life to the glory of God. Times are not very great at this point in time. Myself and Dylan have spoken about this. Is we're still having children. We've got to make as many children as we possibly can because we are commanded to. And that's the point. Dylan, I'm not accepting anything less than 3 from you. Okay, 4 is first prize. 3 is okay.
Yeah. No, it's funny you were saying that. I remember I was actually in a mixed company and I mentioned that. I was like, yeah, I think quality people need to have more children. That's and I'm not trying to pat myself on the back, but I mean, if you think you got it together, more or less, and why not make a new generation of God-fearing, productive, peaceful, strong, assertive people? It just seems like a no-brainer.
Absolutely. I just want to get one of Irene's comments on over here, which is great. Yes, she said, Scott, I wasn't talking about the last day. I meant it as a victory for us in this country. Our actual fight is just starting and we are going to be victorious in the fight. That's probably what she wanted to say. Thank you, Irene. That is 100% correct. There you go. That's the spirit. Good job. But no, we appreciate you watching. We appreciate everyone listening, and we really do appreciate the comments. There were so many comments in the comments section, guys. I couldn't get to all of them, but I hope that you guys enjoyed it. Dylan, do you have any closing statements?
Nope. Just keep the faith. Always be distrustful of the South African ruling elite, and go subscribe to my channel, Mr. Patriarch.
Yeah, definitely do go do that. Russell?
Yeah, I've got nothing further to add, but just great hanging with people and getting people's feedback. It'd be nice to have a few more people joining us, but I think that's going to happen in the future. And I'm looking forward to having more chats again like this.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for all of our listeners that listened in this evening. If you listen to this content and you enjoy what we're saying and stuff, please go ahead and share. Excuse me. Goodness. Please go ahead and share the content. get it out there, because we've been going for over a year already, and we'd like to get more subscribers and all of that. We're trying to get to over 1,000 subs, so get the word out there, share the videos with your friends and family, like the video as well. But in closing and stuff, this lockdown's a sham. Everything that the government has placed in front of us is nonsense, and it's an analogy that we've made in one of our other videos previously. Previously, I mean over a year ago. Dylan was the guy that made the analogy, and I actually put it in in the video that I just made. Is that our government is essentially little Jimmy? Remember that analogy, Dylan?
Little Jimmy.
No, don't eat that worm, little.
I'm trying to recall.
Oh, don't eat that worm. Oh, gross.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Give it to Mikey. Mikey likes it. He'll eat anything. Yeah.
Exactly. That's our government. Is they
I remember now. Yeah.
Yeah, they do stupid things just to get attention and stuff, and that's pretty much our government. Dylan, did you think about anything to say for Alex Jones? Come on, you got to leave us with Alex Jones.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yes. So Alex gave a message to imparted a message to me to tell all of you, and it goes something like this. Okay, people, the globalists are coming, and they're in South Africa right now. They're in the ANC. They've taken over. They're in charge of everything. They have all the levers of power. But 17/6 will rise again, not only in America, but in South Africa too. And I'm pulling out my knife, and I'm fighting to the death. And I only have a spoon, not a knife. There we go.
Yeah, there we go. That's brilliant.
God, Alex Jones.
Yeah, Alex
you need to smoke more. You need to smoke more to get that throaty sound.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Thank you so much for everyone that's listened.
1776.
1776. Remember that. Thank you, Irene. Be blessed and keep your channel going. Thank you so much. We definitely will. Thank you, and God bless you too. Stay reactionary out there, folks, because
God wills it.
God definitely wills it.